You know the story about Dave Chappelle and Dane Cook?
No.
So I guess
How
Dave
one of them is
Chappelle-
an excellent comedian.
Yeah, well, there was a time. I always liked Dane Cook. I found his
Me too.
performances to be great. Like his special or whatever it was so fucking good at the time. You know, it's a different time now. But anyway, he was up, and Dave Chappelle comes in, and they tell him, "Hey, Dave, when you go up there, just do a quick tight 10. You know, this is Dane's night. I mean, Dane Cook. Yeah, he's up. This is Dane's night. Big deal for him. You know, just do quick 10 and get on off the stage." He's like, "Oh, Maria? Okay." So he goes up there and does his 10 minutes. And of course, he's Dave Chappelle. Everybody loves it. He's like, "All right, y'all, you know, I'm going to hop off here and say goodnight to you. I don't usually do this, but you want to hang out, smoke some cigarettes and shit? I'm going to be outside for the next couple hours."
Oh,
and he walks off the stage. The entire room empties, and it's Dane's turn. And he goes, "That was Dane's night." He takes the whole audience outside to the sidewalk and smokes cigarettes, takes pictures, signs autographs for like an hour.
Okay, that's a pretty big sabotage. But who among us wouldn't go hang out with Dave Chappelle a little bit?
Yeah, you'd have to go. You'd have to go hang out with Dave Chappelle.
Let me say two things. First of all, Dane's comedy right now, don't judge it on what he used to do. He's grown. Dane has always been top 5 performers as far as comics.
Mm-hmm.
But his comedy right now is like legit. Chappelle one night at the Comedy Store. So it was in the main room. And look, man, comics, none of us, if Dave's like, "Hey, I'm going to do 2 hours," we'd all be like, "Okay, I'm going to watch that 2 hours. And you can bump it. No big deal. We're here. You get to do what you want. You've earned." So he's on stage, and the set was supposed to be probably 20 minutes. And he was at maybe 23. And he's starting, Pauly's backstage. And Dave's starting to put his jacket back on. He's putting the mic back in the stand. The set's winding up. But Pauly can't see that from backstage. And Pauly's, at the time, he still owned part of the Comedy Store and all this shit. And there were comics back there. And so he just goes, "Hey," from the back. He goes, "Hey, Dave, just curious how much time you're doing. There are comics back here who want to go up." And Dave, from the stage, you can't see Pauly. You can hear his voice. Dave goes, "Is that Pauly?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hey, Pauly." And he goes, "Let me ask you a question, Pauly." And he takes his jacket off. And he goes, "If any of those people back there have 30 fucking years in the business," and he takes out a cigarette and he lights it. He goes, "Let me get a beer and a shot." He goes, "I won't be here for a minute."
Just does another hour.
Yo, he was right. Just let him. He's a respectful dude.
That was Pauly Shore. And that was Pauly Shore in the back?
Yeah, it was Pauly in the back. Because Pauly.
But his mom, doesn't his mom like own the place?
Yeah. Well, his mom did own the place and sold it to, stayed in the family. And so Pauly and his brother and sister.
Okay.
But yeah, man, he super respectful dude.
It sounded like Pauly was kind of respectful too.
They both were. That's the thing.
Well, I don't know that Chappelle was in this scenario.
He was entirely.
Chappelle's funnier.
And when you get to that point in your career, he's right. I've been doing it 30 years. I'm Dave Chappelle. I'm going to do my time. I'm not going to be disrespectful, but you're not going to scream at me from backstage. That's not going to happen. And I could see both. I could see Pauly because Pauly wasn't watching. He didn't see Dave putting his stuff on and getting out of there. All he knew is he had a room filled with comics waiting to go on stage.
And probably people that couldn't fit in the room being like, "Hey, should I go home?"
Yeah. Yes. Saying things like that. I was on that list. I was very ready to not go on stage, but super excited to watch Chappelle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Seems like if you could poison that room, like if you get some food poisoning in there, you could come up and like get seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look at, what are you doing? Getting a drink? You getting a drink out of your bag? No. That's Jake. That's
what
Jake.
up, fellas?
How are you?
All right, I'm doing good.
Doing solid.
Don't wet willy me. I don't like.
I got a social question. I'm watching basketball right now.
Yeah.
And
so
as the old players are getting beat by the young ones, the transfer of power is not
peaceful. They are flexing, pointing to their dick, screaming in their faces. There is no like, you're a legend, man. It was an honor to play with you. That shit is not happening in basketball right now. When a comic kind of, loses his spot as king of the hill, do the other comics like, dude, you're a legend. I have respect for you. I'm glad you paved the way. Or are they like, move over, not funny dick shit?
Maybe behind your back they are, but to your face, it's a very super respectful situation.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure behind their back, they're like, this old fuck. Funny joke since 1987, but in front of your face, they're super nice. I'll tell you something else, man. Like recently, I've had a couple people say to me, I was in LA and I got introduced. This one woman was like, he's a legend. I'm like, am I? Are you introducing me right now?
Yeah, you aged into it. Now you get to just say it.
Yeah, I was like, are you calling me old? Is that all it takes to be a legend? Is that
what you could also do? You could make up things that dead comics have said about you, where you could be like, hey, I want you to introduce me, Josh Wolf, as Patrice O'Neal's personal favorite stand-up comedian. He told me that before he passed on his deathbed. he couldn't speak. He just had a diabetic stroke and he was in a coma, but he blinked it at me.
He Morse code blinked out Josh Wolf.
He blinked it out. Yeah,
I love it.
Like those Vietnamese POWs blinking torture.
R.I.P. to Patrice. His favorite comedian was Josh Wolf.
My favorite comic of all time, Patrice O'Neal.
He's on my list. He was so fucking funny. All the old O&A appearances of him, I re-listen to probably once a year. There's fantastic.
A guy who went out on top.
He was so far ahead of his time. But dude, my favorite. I can laugh. I can see his jokes over and over again, same jokes, and laugh every fucking time.
Yeah,
every time.
Even the episode of O&A they did like right after he died, where they had basically every famous comedian, like the really big ones at the time. So like Jim Norton and all his boys, like Louis C.K., basically plug and play any of them in. Like they just laughed about him the whole time. Not even like all the deferential stuff. Like Jim would just go into stories like, another thing that fat retard did? We were getting hookers in Brazil and he told me that he'd paid. And then he came out quickly after coming and was like, we got to go right now. And it turns out we robbed a couple prostitutes because Patrice was too cheap to pay for it. And then you have fucking other comedians in there it was so funny. So good vibes, that Patrice guy. Damn shame he just ignored that Beatus for, I guess,
his whole life.
I guess for 20 years, 15 years,
that's crazy.
It just ate as many sweets as he wanted and just never did anything.
When I hear people say to me, I wear shorts in the winter because my legs don't get cold, I'm like, that's called diabetes, dude. That's not
strays here.
Power, bro.
No, they're so resilient to cold, they're turning purple. Like can't feel them.
Yeah, you shouldn't be super proud of that.
No. Yeah, he could still be here. He was only 41.
That's right.